All good, David.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's David Crofts, and I'm the chair of the Northern Beaches Planning Panel for Wednesday, the 19th of November. I think I can hear background noise from someone's microphone. So if you wouldn't mind making sure you've got your microphones turned off. And that makes it a little bit easier for everybody. We don't get any crosstalk occurring. I'll introduce the other panel members shortly. Firstly, as a sign of respect, the Northern Beaches Local Planning Panel acknowledges the traditional owners of the land upon which we gather and pays respect to elders past and present. We still have one member of the panel who's yet to log in. So while we're waiting for them, I'll just provide a quick rundown on what the panel does, and then we'll move into the formal part of the meeting. Basically, back in 2018, the state government made local planning panels mandatory for all Sydney councils, Northern Beaches being one of them. And I note now that the state government or New South Wales Parliament has also introduced some planning reforms that at the same time as they introduced the local planning panels, the state government introduced regional planning panels, which are now in Sydney, once the government has provided assent, will be replaced by the local planning panels within the Sydney region, as I understand it. So the aim of the panel to provide an increased level of accountability and ensure independent oversight leads to better planning outcomes. And we do have another microphone that's open at the moment. I'm not sure where that noise is coming from. Thanks, it seems to have disappeared. So basically the panel provides an independent and open forum for interested people and groups to hear and make submissions about development proposals that have been referred to the panel for determination. The panel has the power to consider and determine development applications. That means we can approve them, have placed conditions on those approvals, defer the items, or refuse the applications. We do that for straight development applications, also application modifications, which there's a few on the agenda today, reviews of application decisions, and so on. The criteria under which those matters are directed to the panel are shown in the Minister for Planning's direction, which you can find on the New South Wales Planning's website, as well as on Council's website. In relation to planning proposals, if Council has planning proposals, they're referred to the panel for our review and to make recommendations to the councils. So on planning proposals, we don't have the power to approve or otherwise them. We just make recommendations, unlike development applications. There's a series of statutory rules that govern our operation through a code of conduct and operational procedures. We have 4 members normally, chairperson who's an independent expert, a community member who is Frank Bush in this case and is having technical difficulties with his computer and hopefully will join us shortly, and 2 independent expert members. And for this panel, there's Heather Wharton, who's just raised her hand, and Oliver Klein, who's the other independent expert. The way the meeting works is that the panel has received a copy of the application, the assessment report, any submissions, and any other relevant documentation. We've undertaken an on-site inspection, either in person or virtually, depending on the circumstances. We hold a public panel meeting, which is where we're all at today, where interested people and group can hear and make submissions about the development proposal. And then we meet in a closed panel session for us to deliberate and determine the application before us, or to make recommendations on a planning proposal that's involved. So the idea of the public session is that it provides an opportunity to make an oral submission. It's not a place for debate or discussion to and fro between the applicant and objectors. So we want to hear what you have to say so that we have the benefit of your thoughts to help us in our decision making. The panel may ask you questions or seek clarifications after the presentations are completed. So the format I normally follow is that we ask any objectors or submitters to make a presentation if they wish. And then following that, we ask the applicant to respond. And then we open up for panel members to ask any questions of either the presenters who are submitters or the applicant and their representatives. These meetings we're having, the public meeting is video and audio recorded. They're live streamed and they're also published on Council's website. As I mentioned, once the public session is closed, I'll close the public meeting and we'll move into a closed session. A couple of things. With each presenter, we've had an opportunity to read the submission, so there's no need to reread them to us now. What's really important is you really provide us with some commentary that relates to the things that are most important to you, so that message gets across to us very soundly and solidly. If you can limit your presentation to a maximum of 3 minutes, that would be really helpful, and stay concise. And I think that's about it. Also, just generally in terms of the code of conduct, please don't engage in any abusive behaviour or anything like that, because if you do, I'll shut you off, and it's certainly not contributing to your ability to put forward your viewpoint on this actual proposal itself. So with that by way of a bit of background, I'll now open the meeting and ask for any apologies. My understanding is that we have no apologies received. Is that correct, Liv? Assume it's correct. Liv is probably, oh, I see you are. Liv,
Sorry, yeah, I was just on the phone to Frank.
That's
He's
okay.
just still having troubles getting in, but we're trying our best.
Okay, no problem. So no apologies?
No apologies, no.
Okay, and I've received, or council's received declarations of interest from all the panel members stating they don't have a conflict of interest in relation to any of the matters before us today. But just for the benefit of the record, Heather Wharton, I think you might have disappeared off the screen now. I can't ask.
I'm still here. Can you still hear me?
Still here on
yeah. I have no conflict. I have no conflict.
Okay,
yeah, sorry,
you.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why that is, but I'm here.
Yeah, no, you're back live now.
Okay.
And also Lydia Keckwick. Not Lydia, sorry, Oliver Klein.
No conflicts.
Okay,
thanks, David.
Thank you. The minutes of the previous meeting held on the 5th of November were adopted by the chairperson and have been posted on council's website, and the panel notes that. Now move on to the first item before us. And I will mention that that Frank Bush is still unable to attend. However, the number of panel members we do have with us today does constitute a quorum, so we can proceed. First item is item 4.1, which is DA 2025-0024, which is 158 Pacific Parade DY, demolition works and construction of shop top housing, including a strata subdivision. Now, I have one person who's listed to speak as an objector, and that's Diane Somerville. I can't see Diane online. Is she online or on there by phone, Liv?
Yes, I'm on the line, David.
She's on the line. Okay, Diane. Oh, I can see you live now. Thank you. Diane, it's now's your opportunity to make a presentation if you wish, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, panel members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Diane Somerville. I'm the owner of Unit 5 at 139 Pacific Parade, which is directly opposite the proposed development. I'm asking the panel to refuse this DA on the basis that it causes severe view loss, relies on excessive height and bulk, and misuses the affordable housing bonus in a way that produces unreasonable and irreversible impacts on surrounding residents. The view impact assessment clearly demonstrates that my direct views of Dee Why Beach and the natural coastal environment would be obliterated by this proposal. The loss here is severe and affects high-value established coastal views from high-use rooms, a key factor in the tenacity planning principle, which requires reasonable view sharing. Council incorrectly concludes that these views are vulnerable and that the proposal is acceptable on merit. Also, I disagree with Council's contention in its report that some significant view corridors are still maintained from my property. I refer you to the photo montages illustrating this loss of my coastal views in Council's report at figures 6, 7 and 11. It's not view sharing when a non-compliant development takes away an existing resident's view simply to improve the applicant's. Importantly, the applicant has not demonstrated that this is the least impacting design. An alternative compliant built form will significantly reduce height and reduce view loss. The applicant relies on the infill affordable housing bonus to increase height. However, DPHI's own practice note clearly states that the bonus should not be treated as an entitlement and may not be achieved where it causes local impacts. This site is exactly the scenario where the bonus should not be granted, because using it creates unacceptable impacts on neighbours, including complete loss of coastal views, excessive bulk, and an overdevelopment inconsistent with the low-rise beach character identified repeatedly in submissions. Council's own report acknowledges concerns about bulk, scale, loss of coastal character, view loss, and height exceedance, but still recommends approval. This approach doesn't satisfy section 4.151B of the EP&A Act, which requires meaningful consideration of environmental impacts, including view sharing. Approving a non-compliant design when there is no automatic entitlement to bonus provisions also sets a concerning precedent for this stretch of Pacific Parade. It encourages further height creep in future DAs, which will progressively erode the coastal character the planning controls were designed to protect. Panel members, I'm asking you to uphold the planning principles and the reasonable expectations of existing residents. This DA results in severe view loss, relies on excessive and unnecessary height and bulk, misuses the affordable housing bonus, and contradicts key case law and planning objectives. I respectfully request that the panel refuses the development application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Diane, and you timed that presentation perfectly to just under the 3 minutes. So I'd now like to move on. If you wouldn't mind staying online in case there's any questions from the panel members, that would be really helpful. The applicants' representatives, I've got listed Greg Boston, Bridie Gort, or Gout, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, and Frida Bomquist. Frida, I can see you're online. I can't see the others here at the moment, so.
Yes, I'm here, Madam.
Oh,
Sorry,
you're
not
there
Madam
now.
Chair, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As am I. I'm here as well.
Okay. Oh, good. Yeah, just that unfortunately, for some reason, some people are just appearing at the last moment. So excuse me if I'm not picking up that you're there or not, as far as my screen's concerned. So Greg, I have you listed as the first person in the applicants list. So do you want to act as the coordinator?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Of your presentations and responses.
Yeah, no, that's right. And look, it's Bridie Goff. She's the principal of the architectural firm, and effectively the architects and the clients are here to answer any questions. So I'll lead the presentation. We've reviewed the assessment report, which is very thorough in relation to the carriage of the application, which involved initial consultation with Council's DSAP, Design and Sustainability Advisory Panel. The design was refined upon submission to Council, addressing the concerns, and the proposal was well received by that particular panel. The report is very thorough in relation to identifying that the proposal is made pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Housing SEP, which relates to the infill affordable housing provisions, where there is a 30% height incentive, if you like. The proposal is fully compliant with that 30% height uplift it's a non-discretionary standard, as the panel would be aware. And to that extent, we believe that the height of the proposal is fair and reasonable. We've reviewed the draft conditions. We raise no objections to the conditions as contained within the assessment report. And to that extent, I'm not going to speak to them directly. In relation to the concerns raised in relation to the view impact, the assessment report quite correctly carries out a view analysis having regards to the tenacity principles. We also submitted our own assessment. I think of relevance is the figure 11 on page 86 of the agenda item. And what that particular figure shows is it shows a comparison between what would be an LEP compliant building height as compared to a Chapter 2 LMR 30% uplift building height. And what that demonstrates is that in relation to the majority of the view impact resulting as a consequence of the proposal, that the view impact is associated with the LEP compliant height envelope, not necessarily the 30% height uplift. And it's on that basis that council staff believes that the proposal is fair and reasonable, having regards to the view sharing principles established by Tenacity. That particular image indicates that whilst the views directly out from the site are completely obscured, that there is still a view corridor down the street alignment towards Narrabeen Lagoon. And what you can see in terms of the sky and land interface to the right of that image is actually Long Reef headland that you can see to the right there. So to that extent, council's assessment indicates that they believe that a view sharing outcome is maintained, notwithstanding the fact that there is a view impact, and that obviously aligns with the applicant's position as submitted. Apart from that, we're all just here to answer any questions that the panel might have. As I said, no fundamental objection to any of the conditions as drafted.
Okay, thank you. Just a question, notwithstanding what you were saying about the relativities and in the photo montage in figure 11 about the what's allowable under the LEP and what's allowable under the housing SEP. In terms of the issues raised by Diane Somerville and her view loss, have you got any specific response to that, please?
Look, we certainly don't disagree with the submission that there will be a view impact associated with the proposal. As I said, we have submitted court certifiable view loss images and a very detailed assessment against Tenacity. What our position is that the majority of that view would be taken from an LEP height compliant building envelope. And to that extent, we're comfortable that having regard to the fourth step in Tenacity, which is could a more skillful design reduce the impact whilst not reducing the amenity of the scheme, that we believe that that what is proposed is fair and reasonable. It is fully compliant with the non-discretionary height standard, and whilst there is a view impact, which is unfortunate, it is reasonably anticipated by the height of the development. Now, what I'll also indicate is that since submission or since initial preparation of the application, the Chapter 6 LMR provisions of the housing SEP have also come in. The panel will be aware that this particular site is surrounded by R3 medium density residential zone land. A number of existing developments in the visual catchment are already 4 stories in height. The LMR provisions certainly anticipate 4-story forms up to 17.5 metres in height. And to that extent, contextually, the proposed building heights won't be perceived as inappropriate or jarring and will be consistent not only with the heights of surrounding development in the R3 zone, but consistent with the heights of development in the local centre, which already includes 4 12-storey building forms.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions? No?
No,
Heather? No.
no.
A quick one from me. Thank you. Greg, in the basement drawings for the car parking, unit 9 seems to miss out on a parking space. Is that intentional?
Yeah, look, there's a number of conditions. Conditions 21 and 86 require the reallocation of car parking spaces just to make sure that each of the residential apartments get a space. There's also a requirement for 2 of the spaces to be allocated to the retail tenancies. That isn't as we submitted. What we were proposing is that the majority of the car parking spaces would be used for residential and resident visitor on the basis that, you know, commercial sort of tenants and the like were unlikely to use the car stacker. But the concern that you've raised has been dealt with through the imposition of conditions 21 and 86.
Okay, so you wouldn't be adverse to us adjusting that condition to ensure that all of the residential tenancies have at least one space?
I don't believe so, but if anyone else from my team wanted to respond to that, please jump in.
From an architectural perspective, I don't have an issue with it, unless, Matt, you're adverse to kind of sort of taking away from one of the 3-bedders or something to allocate it to another apartment. But in principle, I don't think there's generally an issue with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions from the panel members?
Or from me?
I just had another quick one, just in relation to the car stacker, and I acknowledge that the traffic engineer from council and so on seem to think that's a reasonable solution in your case, in particular, given the constraints of the site. Just in terms of the degree of experience you've had with, and I'm not referring competency experience, but the number of times you've had to deal with car stackers at the entry to a car park and any implications of it. Do you got any comments on that?
Oh, look, all I would say is that that car lifts and the like are certainly becoming more commonplace. There's certainly a lot more examples down in Manly, for instance, where a lot of the development sites are more compact. So it's certainly in relation to the actual car lifts themselves, I haven't heard of any substantive issues in relation to their use. Car stacker arrangements where you've got sort of cars in a mechanical car parking arrangement. Yes, I've heard some issues in relation to those, but
it was more the lift,
not in relation to the lift.
Yeah, lift and the potential queuing and so on that I was concerned with.
But certainly, like, there's been some development in the
look, that's
car
been.
lift.
So, Bridie, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's been some, I think, positive progress in the car lift world. I think it's been a bit troubled in the past, but we're certainly dealing with it on a lot of projects at the moment. And there's a real awareness of the car lift needing to be of a appropriate size, appropriate speed, and the functionality of it being really user-friendly now. So from a functionality perspective, I think they've come a long way from where they used to be. So I don't see any issues necessarily with this number of units and, you know, potential issues with queuing and that sort of thing, particularly because we've allowed for the waiting areas.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions from panel members, I'll move on to the next item. I think. Okay, can I thank both the objector, Diane Somerville, and the applicant's representatives for appearing in front of the panel today. And I'll now move on to next. Yeah, only if it's a quick question through me, not a debate.
Yes,
yes, thanks.
No. So I just,
yes.
You gave them an opportunity to respond to my comments. I was just wondering if I could have 30 seconds just to respond to something that was mentioned from the applicant's side.
Yeah, sure. If it's fact-based, yes, go ahead.
Yes. So I just wanted to say, I hear the comments about the LEP versus the extra 30%. What I would say in terms of the view and referring to that figure 11 is that if the building was limited to just the LEP limit, I would still have a reasonable amount of views of Norfolk pines, and so natural environment, as opposed to the bulk of a big built form. So I just want to respond to that, because from my perspective, understanding the points about you're still going to lose whatever, I accept that, but I particularly am uncomfortable with the extra 30% when, if you look at the relativity, which is what was mentioned by the applicant between the two, I still think that's of value to me. So I just wanted to make that point to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. And, I can assure anyone who's listening that, we will take into account view sharing very seriously when we move into the determination part of the meeting. So once again, thank you very much, everyone. And if I could now move on to item 4.2 on the agenda, which relates to DA number 2024/0946, 80 Undercliff Road Freshwater, which is a modification of development consent. I just mentioned that development consent number, granted for use of the premises as a restaurant, and that particular premises is commonly called Pilu. So I have one speaker who I understand is in support of the development, a community member, Ramsey Taylor, and then a number of representatives of the applicant. So Ramsey, I can see you're online here. Yes, I apologize, I'm having some difficulty picking up everyone who's logged in at the moment on my computer, so I apologise for that. And I also note that Frank Bush hasn't had the opportunity to join us yet.
David.
Sorry, yes.
Frank is here. He's just connected through his mobile, so you won't see his face, but he is here now.
Okay, that's the mobile I can see. Okay, good. Thanks for explaining that to me. So we've got the full panel now available. Ramsey, I don't know if you heard earlier, but if you could try and restrict what you're saying to roughly 3 minutes and focus on your major points. So we're in your hands, please.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. So I have been working with Pilu for 14 years. So I just wanted to point out that well before we went down this path, where there are plan management in place already that we've been executing to keep minimal noise disruptions in the area. So for example, when we have events.
Sorry. Can I just clarify something? You're appearing on behalf of the applicant. You mentioned you're working with them.
I live in the area and I also work at the business as well.
So you work in the business. I just want to make it transparent for everybody. You work in the business and you're appearing because you live in the area, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay, thanks. That's clear to everyone.
And
Thank you.
The issues with noise from many venues, not just ours. So some of the things we put in place, we walk the venue regularly at all times of the day, do sound pressure tests. Anyone who does bring in amplified music to do ceremonies, we do a test as well.
Sorry, can I just pull you up again? I'm sorry about this, but can you please focus on your perspective as a resident?
Oh, sure.
As distinct from someone who's working in the organisation.
Sure.
Certainly, I'm happy to hear you once we move, if you want to be one of the applicant's representatives later on, but you're in this section of the public hearing too.
So as
a resident's perspective, please.
Sure, as a resident perspective, in the area, there are other businesses that create a lot more noise. I mean, even not businesses. So there's often surf comps on the beach, and the noise levels there are substantially louder. The disruption from Pilu when you're walking by, when you're on the beach, when you're sitting on the grass area is negligible, unnoticeable, to the point where we still have people who live, like neighbors of mine, who don't know the Pilu's there. So the noise, from my perspective as a resident who lived in the street just up above on Queenscliff for 10 years, never had an issue and was never advised by anyone else local that it was an issue as well. So it's a great business and hasn't had any issue to a large extent compared to the others in the area.
Okay. Thank you. Is that all you wish to say? Okay, thank you very much. I'd now like to move on to the applicant's representatives, and I've got two people listed, Giovanni Cirillo, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and close enough, and Marilyn Anicinini as well. I apologize if I haven't pronounced your surname well enough or correctly. All good. That's a good relief. So I'm now in your hands. Giovanni, you're the person on the top of my list. So would you like to act as the coordinator of presentations from your side, please?
Thanks, David. I won't take long. Thank you for your time, members of the panel and chairman. I wrote the statement of environmental effects of the plan of management. I was the applicant for the previous DA and lodged the current DA. We endorsed the report. We agreed with its findings and the amended conditions of consent. By way of background, I won't repeat what you already know and have read in your reports, but the modifications are relatively simple and they arise from some conditions that were put on the consent, and we obviously didn't have sufficient time between the listing of the matter before the LPP and the meeting to acoustically test, in fact, the reasonableness of those conditions or in fact, to actually review them in detail before the meeting. As it turned out, these two conditions are problematic for the venue. Basically, it's been found in the last report that the venue can have weddings and other gatherings. It also included in the plan of management provision for up to 20 events per year, exclusive events per year, and at other times when the venue is open to the general public for other smaller gatherings. But the issue is that often that garden setting is very nice for a very small wedding, weddings in particular. So you can get married there, you just can't have any music while you're walking down the aisle. So these are very low key adjustments to the consent, but necessary because needless to say, you don't tend to want to do this too often. That is getting married. So when you do, you probably want music for a few minutes while you walk down the aisle or in association with the ceremony itself and for no other reason. Hence the request for that particular condition. And in addition, the indoor dining areas of the restaurant, the venue variously trades between 10 and midnight, but our acoustic testing quite clearly indicated that it could do so in compliance with all relevant acoustic impact requirements and still be able to do so until 11 o'clock at night. And council staff have found that to be a reasonable thing. And we certainly think it's quite necessary for the ambience of the restaurant and enjoyment of its patrons that can occur consistent with the consent and also without interrupting anyone's sleep. So thank you for your time, Chairman and members of the panel, and I'll hand over to Marilyn, who is the licensee and manager of the venue.
Okay, thank you. Marilyn, we're in your hands.
Hi, thank you, Chair and members of the panel. My name is Marilyn. I'm the owner, together with Giovanni. We've been operating Pilu for 21 years, always as a community-focused business. So this modification really, as Giovanni has already, that's not my husband, Giovanni, by the way, that's Giovanni, the planner. The other Giovanni. So basically, what he's explained the seeking of the modification. So we just need to be able to continue to conduct our small weddings, which are ancillary to our restaurant. Some music outside for the bride and groom. It's all low level, and we're not anticipating any outdoor entertainment, nothing of a large scale. It's very dignified, staying within limits. And also, we're really supportive of the trial period, the specific DBA acoustic levels. We obviously support them, and that way they allow us to maintain our operation, but also be respectful of our neighbours, which we always have. I've got, I think, a couple of them are online here today who would support that. So that's the intention, really. I just want to continue running this business, employing so many people and keeping couples happy. That's it, guys, with consideration.
Great. Thank you very much. So I'm open now to the panel members. Have you got any questions at all? Take Oliver first, and then Heather, and then Frank, if you have any.
Okay, thank you, and sorry, Heather. For Giovanni, this question, well, perhaps Marilyn as well. Just for abundant clarity, there's no change to the 20 single event cap. So the 20 events per year, possibly even 2 on a day, Is that the scenario?
There's no change. You can have smaller events that coexist with the restaurant business when it's open, but the 20 limits it to exclusive events. There's no change to the number of events. No.
Okay, good. And the 24-month trial period. If we were of the mind to shorten that to 12, would that be of concern to you?
No, as long as it's from the OC.
Yep.
Because we still need to build the works that were approved in the last DA, and as you know, the rigmarole of a CC and OC and construction, needless to say, takes some time. So we don't want to start the trial and then have to reapply at the same time before we've even operated. So 2 years is better because I think it gives a better spread of time to enable it to settle in. But if you wanted to make it 12 months, there'd be no major objection to that.
Okay. Actually, to the point you've just made about the OC, so there is a previous condition of forgive me, I'm going to get the phrasing of this wrong now, but the reviewable condition. I think it's condition 27. So that hasn't yet been able to be employed because you haven't got the OC yet.
Correct. We need to resolve this. And I think there's one other condition we might need to deal with council as well about disability access, but we've agreed with council that we'll deal with that at a separate time. But yeah, we haven't got the OC yet, so we're still just trading under the existing use.
Okay, and probably an adjunct to that is that there've been no complaints directly to the restaurant on occasion since the new hours have been employed.
Well, the consent hasn't been taken up yet. It's
So
still operating.
we haven't had any complaints directly for ever, basically. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. That's it from me. Thanks, David.
Thank you. Heather.
Giovanni, the main issue with condition 24 as it now reads, as I understand it, and please correct me if I've got it not correct, is that there's a condition that says no outdoor amplified music, but you do wish to have outdoor amplified music for the ancillary functions 20 times a year. Is that correct?
Or anytime someone has a wedding outside, it could be an exclusive event or a non-exclusive event. The 20 is exclusive events, and there will be other smaller gatherings where the restaurant continues to be open. So it will be potentially more than 20, but it applies to that.
Okay, so that's the problem at the moment. You can't have amplified music outdoors because that's what the condition says.
Yeah, that's right. So that will
I'm not sure about
as amended by this modification
proposed. And I'm not sure about the exclusive versus non-exclusive. I understand the approved use is restaurant and functions are ancillary to the restaurant. So I don't know if we're going into the detail of exclusive or not exclusive, but and then the other, is that the only problem, or is it also where it says that you can only have amplified music until 10 p.m. and now you want amplified music until 11 p.m.?
That's correct.
Are they the two issues with the conditions as drafted?
Yes.
And then there was a trial of these hours as approved under this DA, and you're saying that that trial period hasn't actually commenced, or that trial period hasn't commenced because you're not operating at these hours. For example, you're not having, you're not operating until 10 p.m. or whatever this consent gave you.
That's right. This consent hasn't been taken up yet. That's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Okay.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Frank, do you have any questions?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So I had a couple. Just an exclusive event means that the restaurant is booked out just for that group?
Yes.
What that means? Okay.
Yes.
And previously, or the existing condition states that there shall be no amplified music outdoors.
Yep.
As I read the proposed condition, that it allows it during those exclusive ceremonies for up to 2 occasions per day between those 2 time slots.
Yep.
But the reference to no outdoor music at all for other spaces is proposed for deletion. So reading this, the implication of the proposed condition is that, and I know your site's largely sloping and all that sort of thing, it's a bit constrained, is that if you're not in an outdoor terrace, not indoor, you're in the outdoor area, you're not actually captured by the proposed new condition. That is, you could have outdoor music. Is that the intention, or is it, and the mapping sort of reinforces that by showing the indoor space and the outdoor terraces coloured, but the rest of the site isn't. So I just, after a bit of clarity there, if I could, please.
To my knowledge, the only music outside is going to be as per the condition, and that is exclusively in association with the ceremony for up to 2 occasions per day, being held between 11 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. and between 4:30 and 7.
Okay, no, that helps me understand it much better. I just wanted to make it very clear.
That's your understanding, Marilyn, as well?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, no, that's great. Thank you very much. No other questions from panel members at all? No. Okay, can I thank you all, both Ramsey as a submitter and also the applicant's representatives for coming today and providing information to the panel. As I mentioned earlier, after the public meeting is complete, we'll go into closed session and determine the development application, or in this case, the modification. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Panel members, we'll now move on to item 4.3, which relates to Sandy Bay Road, Cloncath, modification 2025/0499, which is a change of use from a kiosk to a cafe, which involves an increase in patrons and also operating hours in a sense. So just if I could ask Liv, you were going to try and contact the applicant potentially?
We do have for this online if they wanted to jump on.
Sorry, can you repeat that? It cut out at the beginning at my end.
Sorry, yes, I think we do have the applicant online for this one if they wanted to.
Oh,
yes,
okay, that's
Lucy,
that's just put a hand up in the air. Great, thank you. So I don't know whether you wanted to present anything. I know you hadn't asked to, or whether or not you just wanted to be there to field any questions that the panel may have.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm here just to be available. I do have some points I'm happy to make, but if not, I'm happy to just take questions.
Well, why don't we take the questions, and then if you want to make additional points, we'll take them. Does that work for you?
Perfect.
Okay. Good. Okay. Now, I'll just note for those people who happen to be either on live stream or listening later that there are no objectors, and the applicant hadn't registered. However, the panel did, in some earlier discussion, believe that it would be useful for the applicant to have a representative just to deal with any questions we may have. So that just explains the context as to who's here and who's not. So I'll now open to the panel for any questions you may have. Firstly, I might go to Heather. Do you have any questions at all? Sorry, Heather, I'm not sure what's happened to your...
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. From reading the report, we understand that the use is reliant on being ancillary to the marina use. What's the relationship between the what was a kiosk, now a cafe, to the marina? How does that work? Does the marina own the space and you sublease from that, or what's the practical relationship between the marina and the cafe?
Sure. So just to clarify, I'm the architect, so I'm the applicant on behalf of the cafe operator. So the marina renovations in the past, which was a different DA, were originally approved with a kiosk with quite a kind of reasonable sized commercial kitchen. And the reason this original DA was lodged was to clarify that this kitchen was serving food and that the use should be classed as a cafe. So that is not, the cafe is being operated by a sublease. So the marina is not the operator. They operate the marina. There are some marina operations on the ground floor, and they have the primary use of the deck. More than 50% of the deck and the furniture is theirs, and the cafe is approved to operate a portion. So in the corner of the ground floor is the cafe servery and kitchen, and then at the moment there's a small seating area approved. And the reason this application was made was essentially because they've operated for a few years and there was really strong community interest and requests to introduce an evening service and more seating. And with this modification, we submitted the petition from the community with almost 100 signatures in support. So that's the kind of context of the background. To my knowledge, the cafe has operated really successfully for a number of years with really minimal complaints about the noise or operations. There's already no amplified music allowed, and I know the community, that is kind of their main concern in this area. It's not something that we're asking for. There's no proposal for outdoor amplified music.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oliver, have you got any questions at all?
Yes, thank you. You've explained the sort of the segregation on that deck between the marina usage with the tables and chairs and the cafe usage, and our understanding is that there's no table service. So what polices or prevents somebody sitting in the marina dedicated area but being a cafe user in this existing circumstance?
So at the moment, that's correct. There's no table service. And the way that it's having to work, because there's such a small number of seating, basically if people can't get seating, they have to leave and they have to take their takeaway elsewhere. And in this kind of venue, you can imagine there's a real mix of demographic and ages. And for parents or older patrons, it's not very inclusive or easy if they come and they're not able to get a seat, or they have to get takeaway and actually leave. You know, the marina is not supposed to be fully privatised, so people could theoretically come and sit on the deck and sit in any furniture, but they shouldn't be taking takeaway to those seats. So staff are having to manage that. And at the moment, the community's strong feedback is that there's just not enough cafe seating. People don't want to have takeaway and sit at seats anyway. They kind of want to have their food there and they don't want to be rushed out the door. So at the moment, there's a lot of takeaway happening because of the limited seating number.
Okay, and I guess tied to that then is that the application from a physical works perspective is the awning, the rollout awning from the main building to the umbrellas.
Yeah.
Is it also the screening or the segregate, the sort of the square area within which the 80 seats would be? Is there a proposal to split that off physically?
There could be, if that was of interest. It's not very nice for, you know, monitoring people on the deck and that passive surveillance that you get when you can see through. So at the moment, that segregation is happening more through landscape planter boxes, and the way that the furniture is arranged with really defined circulation corridors around it. It's something that we have looked at in the past, either glass or different types of screening, but obviously there's, you know, maintenance and you have to clean it all the time, and we're not wanting to prevent views, especially just for people being able to have a direct line of sight across the deck, more from an operational point of view, and to ensure the marina has a good line of sight through to the entry to the boat area.
Sure. The reason I ask is I think one of the drawings, possibly an elevation, does show some screening.
That was from the previous DA, and that was more for protection along the edges of the deck, and I believe that that's all been approved in the original DA submission.
Okay, so that's on the existing drawing.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, it's a bit unclear because the building work was minimal in the original DA, and it's very minimal now. It's essentially just the awning. It's the only physical structure.
Okay, great. Thank you. The last question, and it's just my perception. Are you able to fit 80 people in the
Yes.
requested space?
Yes, it is. The deck is extremely large, and the marina is still occupying more than 50%. So the way that the seating is done, you can imagine in this kind of space, people coming down to the marina, it's largely locals, but in summer you get groups of people or family or people visiting in friends, and they tend to sit in larger settings. So the way to do it is by having larger seating, which is either shared seating or it can accommodate bigger groups, as opposed to, you know, if you did it with individual tables, that would take a much larger footprint. It's been much more communal. People are happy to share, and also having bigger groups who can stay for longer is really important, because the main aim here is actually to provide that recreational access to the foreshore and to have a really comfortable space where people can sit and stay without having to be asked to leave by staff. You know, we'd prefer that it's more comfortable and leisurely. It's not a restaurant, it's not a high turnover area. It's supposed to be there as a community offering. So that's the intention behind it.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me, David. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Frank, do you have any questions?
No, thank you. I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple. One is that when I inspected the site, I noticed there was a whole, there's an area of bar style seating along the entrance walkway with seats, and it's not shown on the plans, but that's neither here nor there. Who uses that?
So just to clarify, a confusion I think that has come up with this site is the marina also have their own seating and furniture. So there's no conditions on that currently under the marina's DA. So around the perimeter, there's kind of edge seating and bar seating, and they move furniture around a lot. And you know, it would be helpful again for the cafe to have more seating, so you don't have a situation where people are upset saying there's all this other seating, why can't I sit down and eat there? And they can't under the current DA. So yet the marina has its own furniture and infrastructure, which is flexible.
Okay, no, thank you for that. Also, the cafe's lease area, or whatever arrangement you have with the marina proprietor, how does that correspond to the operating area? Is there a plan of that?
I'm not aware of there being another plan outside of these agreed plans. These plans have obviously been developed together with the owners of the marina. They've provided their support, as have Transport for New South Wales. So we kind of, as far as I know, we operate based on approval of these plans, which define the area.
Okay, so the area that, because what I'm getting at is sort of follows on from some of the other panel questions, is in terms of the seating, which is, you're talking about 80 patrons, you know, if the cafe lease area was you know, defined in a certain way, that would help limit, you know, drift of seating and so on, that, you know, sometimes happens. And given that there's a fair area between the servery of the cafe and the actual seating that's shown on the plan, yeah, you can see there's a risk that could occur. So that's why I was keen to know.
Yeah, it's I'm not aware that Transport have defined a lease area, and at the moment it's been approved and recorded via this DA.
Okay, thank you. And this is really an operational question, but when you go from 20 to 80 people, that's a substantial increase. How, and it's all not table service, it's, you know, people coming to the counter. as I understand the application is, how is the cafe planning to manage that?
I think they run at the moment with very few staff. So originally, because it's not a restaurant, so they're not preparing complicated meals. It's very, very light. A lot of the food is pre-made. A lot of it is drinks. A lot of it is coffees. So it's much more like a light refreshment setup where the delivery of food and drinks is very fast, and then people are able to stay for longer. So again, even though the number seems like a jump, the way that it's being used, imagine that you get a coffee and you're with friends, maybe some cake or what that kind of thing is, and fish and chips and that kind of thing, and people stay for longer. So it's not this really high volume, high turnover courses. It's not, that is not the offering.
What I was getting at is what people often do. They come to a cafe, they spot an empty seat or a table, and then they'll put their sunglasses or something there to act as a signal. Then they'll go and order, and then they'll return back to the table while the coffee is being made. Because usually, at peak times, there's a bit of a bank up of people that are not going to hang around at the counter. So, well, how are they planning to manage that sort of circumstance where you've got a lot of people there who are potentially away from the counter, and them knowing that they're actually, their coffee's ready, or bacon egg roll or whatever they've ordered?
I think they just operate with a buzzer system. And there's also an increase. I think the original DA had 3 or 4 staff, and we're saying up to 5 now.
Yes.
So if they were finding it's really not really most of the time the capacity is not going to be 80. That is there for the higher volume days, which are, I would say, the weekends in summer, when they would have up to 5 staff and they would have a lot more monitoring happening. But otherwise, day to day, it's not this kind, it's not an inner city venue, and generally the foot traffic is not at this capacity. So that capacity is there, I would say, as more of a seasonal buffer, and they would have additional staff at that time, and the buzzers.
Okay. And just in terms of the patrons, I was there last Sunday doing the site inspection, and it was a nice day. It was, I think it would be close to what I'd regard as a peak summer's day in terms of the crowds. Honestly, you get even more crowds. And basically there was no parking anywhere. At either end of Sandy Bay Road, where the reserve is, and also the beach, nothing was available. So just how does that work in terms of the cafe itself?
So, I mean, we have had this actually assessed by 2 different traffic consultants.
Yeah, and I've read the reports, yes.
Yeah, and the strong view, and I believe council have this view as well, is that traffic situation in high summer on a hot day in the reserve is packed regardless of the cafe, and that people are not travelling by car to come to this cafe. It's not a destination. It's there as amenity for the people that are in the area. So people are in the area on those very high volume days. People are going to be there regardless. And this is providing, a place where they can actually get food and drink while they're there. It's not something that people are driving out of their way to. It's an out of the way place, and you wouldn't come down there just for a coffee. So the traffic issue is recognised in those high summer times, but we, and I believe council support this as well, don't see that it is driving an increase in volume. And also that the majority of people are coming on foot. All of the locals, they're living, they're taking the dog for a walk, they're coming down to the park with the kids, and they're coming in and out on their way. So it's not a destination that everyone is driving to. And the people that have driven there, they've driven there to spend the day at the reserve, not to visit the cafe.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions from panel members before I close off the item? No? Okay, thank you very much, Lucy.
Thank you
for your assistance today. As I mentioned earlier, what happens now is the panel will close its public session, and then we have a closed session where we deal with the determination of the matter. Okay, so once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So item 4.3 was the last item in the public session of the planning panel meeting. There's a number of non-public meeting items which the panel views in closed session. So I'd now like to close the public meeting and ask panel members just to stay online, please. Thank you.